There you go. All right. So welcome, everyone. Thank you very much for joining this webinar, whether it's via Facebook Live or in our Zoom meeting. We are really excited to be here. My name is Horatio. I am the head of marketing here at Bloomz, and I am joined by Jude Miqueli, who is an educational technologist and teacher in Seattle. Welcome, Jude. Thank you for being here.
Thanks. Welcome. Glad to be here.
Awesome. And we're going to start first with just a couple of administrative stuff that I wanted to cover here. First, this is part of our webinar series that we've been doing for a few weeks. Some of the past webinars we've done is how to get started with Bloomz. Another webinar that we did with Jude, and where we walked you through a few ideas of how to get the year off to a good start. And we've also done demos about the new features like activities and health checks. So if you want to see any of these webinars that we've done in the past, best place to go is our blog. You can go to blog.bloomz.com. I'm sorry, blog.bloomz.com. Or in our YouTube channel, you can also find us there, and you'll see all of our webinars that we've done in the past. For this webinar, you can ask questions via the Facebook comments or via the Q&A here in the Zoom tool, and we'll be happy to answer them as we go through the presentation. One other thing that I wanted to just cover right before we start with this is we have our current ambassador program coming up. The deadline for signing up as an ambassador is coming up on Monday next week. So just wanted to remind folks who may be interested in participating in the ambassador program. It's a really fun program where you can participate, share your thoughts with other teachers about Bloomz. You get a few perks, like access to early access to new features. You get to participate in or give your opinion in the roadmap for our app, and you get a full year premium subscription as well. So if you want to participate in that program, bloomz.com/ambassadors. That's the web page where you can go and sign up. Jude happens to be an ambassador as well, so she can tell you how fun it is. But with that, I wanted to I'll pass the baton to Jude so she can walk us through some of the tips she has to integrate apps, other apps within Bloomz.
Thanks so much, Horatio. And yeah, like you said, I've been a Bloom ambassador. This will be my 5th year. So it's definitely an awesome program I would recommend for teachers if you're into Bloomz and technology. We have a Bloomz ambassador group within the app where we can share resources. And if you want to do a webinar, you're welcome to join me on a webinar someday. So that's another perk there. So I kind of thought about technology this week, as many of you have. This is a really challenging time to start the school year remote. I'm teaching 1st grade remote this year. So I kind of just spent the week thinking about integrating tech tools with Bloomz so that the parents have a hub, one place for logins, meeting links, all the educational apps we need to share with them. So I put my Bloomz classroom together with all the technology the parents and students might need to start the year. And I know more will be coming in as last-minute decisions are being made for supplemental resources, but this is a good start. So how I started was thinking about learning goals. So for teachers, it's all about what are your learning goals? Let's start there. There's so many tech tools out there. We're not just going to pick random ones, right? We need to figure out what are we focusing on this year. So prioritize the learning goals first, and then check in with your school and district and, you know, what's already there, what are we using? So that's where I started this week. And the second question I asked myself is, what do the parents need? So they need resource links and documents. So we have those in Bloomz. We have a document section in Bloomz. So that is where I put all my curriculum. Every curriculum has a link to their resources, right? So some parents want to know the entire scope and sequence of the year. They want to know, what are we starting with? Where are we going? So put all of those links in your document section, right? So parents need login codes, curriculum, and something new I'm trying is an online checklist or online planner. Lots of cool resources out there in the Bloomz Facebook teacher group. People are sharing Google Slides or Microsoft PowerPoints of just a checklist for students so that they can do their work and have an agenda. So I include that in the document section as well, so parents can always have the template for their students' checklist. Two other things parents will need this year is a polling site. You can choose any of them: MS Forms, SurveyMonkey, polls everywhere, whatever your district is using or what you prefer. We need to keep asking for feedback from parents this year. So that can be located in the announcement section in Bloomz. Keep up the top of the news feed, or you can just post it on your news feed. The links will lead them right to the site. And the last thing parents need is to meet with you. So links for Zoom and Teams all work in the calendar, which is super helpful. And the third question I asked myself is, what do the students need? They need independent workstations. So for me, going remote, you know, I'm thinking about my first grade classroom where if they were done with work and they could go to a workstation, they could choose something to do, right? And in that environment, it would have been maybe blocks or you know, the play center, the drama center, maybe some math manipulatives, maybe they would go to the library and read. So here we're talking about some digital learning centers. I'm kind of thinking of Bloomz as my virtual classroom. So this year I put a bunch of learning centers, like links to places like Typing Club, Tinker, Flipgrid, Mind Yeti, a math game center in my announcement section, so that parents can just kind of scroll it, and if their child is looking for something to do, if the day is over, they can always just go to one of these sites and it's there for them. Activities, since the activities section of Bloomz is new, and so that's definitely a place where we can embed curriculum, and you know, assign activities is really exciting. So I'm really looking forward to exploring more with that. There's already a lot of activities shared in the Bloomz community I've been looking at. All right, so next I was thinking about what can I add to extend or support learning this year. So this is thinking about advanced learners or maybe struggling learners, like how can we provide supports and how can we extend learning, and again with technology. So again, what does our building use? That's the overarching question. So some tips I thought about were learning the same platforms as your colleagues. Just start there. If we're all doing this together, it's much easier. And you can always arrange conversations with your librarian or the tech specialist at your school to kind of find out what is my school using. And since I'm a primary teacher, I'm trying to also I'm just curious about how this is working for middle and high school. And one exciting thing I learned is that you can use Twitter with high school students. We've done a few tweet chats at Bloomz, and that's something you can do with high school students too. So if you were going to do a tweet chat with your students, you could create an event in your Bloomz calendar. You can add a picture, you can ask a question, put your hashtag in there, and then that would be on their calendar. You can see the post here in Bloomz. You can share directly to Facebook or Twitter or a website, just within your newsfeed too. I was talking for a while, so Horatio, do we have any questions in the chat?
We don't. No, not so far.
Okay.
But good time to just remind folks that if you have any questions, you can ask them here in the Zoom tool. If you're watching this on Facebook Live, feel free to ask any questions on the comments. We're checking both, and we'll be happy to answer those.
Awesome. So will it work with my learning management system? Is a good question. If it works with it, it's much easier to implement both tools. So I have used Clever and Schoology with Bloomz. And so how Bloomz worked with Clever is that the rosters and provisions accounts are in a sync with it. So your roster is right there. You just sign in through Clever and boom, you're in Bloomz. So there's an instant login capability. And in the works are similar integrations coming for Google Classroom, which is very exciting. And having used Bloomz with Schoology, I was able to create my meetings within Schoology and then sync that calendar with my Bloomz calendar so that they're in both places, but you only had to create one meeting link. It's an interesting thing having both the LMS system and the Bloomz app. In my mind, as a primary teacher, Bloomz is pretty close to that learning management system. It has an area for your documents. It has an area for activities and assignments. So really my parent hub, my student hub is Bloomz, but I do have Schoology with my entire building. So I'm able to look in Schoology, do my adult learning there. I can copy any links I want parents to have and just put them in my document section in Bloomz. So they can work together in that way. But parents don't need all the things that teachers have. I wouldn't want to overwhelm them more than they already are. So that's leading to the synchronous tools we can use and how we can pair them with Bloomz. This is one of the best parts, I would say, about Bloomz is that the calendar is there and we need a consistent schedule of meetings for our students, and parents need to have them visually right there so that they can check their app or on the desktop version and just know where their meetings are in advance. All parents want this at least a week ahead of time to know and schedule with their own work schedule. So in your Bloomz app, you can create an event and then it can be reoccurring, whether it's Teams, Zoom, Google Meet. You can put your link to the meeting. In the notes, you can add your meeting ID, can give some more detail there as to what this meeting is. And you can choose who you're inviting. So if it's the whole class, that's great. You can just have your whole class meeting. If it's small groups, only the invited recipients will be notified and view the event in the calendar. So you have choices there as a teacher. Do you want just the small group to see this event in the calendar, or do you want the whole class all the parents to see all your events. I'm kind of on the fence deciding which way to go. Last year, I just had the families who were attending the meetings see, so that they wouldn't be overwhelmed and see, oh, look at all these meetings. They only see their child's meeting. But then they weren't really aware of the, my whole schedule. So I'm not quite sure which way to go this year. I might think about that a little longer. Teachers can decide on their own how they want to share events. So these are some creative ways I was incorporating synchronous learning with Bloomz last year, or pairing them. So this on the left side here is a post on the news feed about a Zoom, end of year fun activity we did, which was a virtual open mic. So on my news feed, I just posted to my parent group, hey, we're doing this event. Here's a flyer, you can post your picture and then add the link there. So that event would be in the calendar and on the news feed so that everyone can find it. And on the right side is an example of just kind of bringing it all together, bringing the synchronous tools into your Bloomz environment, and sharing with parents what you did in that synchronous meeting. So I had a Zoom chat, with my kindergartners the first time they ever used the chat bar. And I was able to save that chat as an image and upload it to the Bloomz news feed so that parents were aware of the technology skills they were learning. Kind of a fun way to share. So if we have any questions, we can answer them now, or I can kind of show my classroom on Bloomz. Are you there, Horatio?
Oh my God, I'm sorry, Jude. I was I was talking here on my own, and I didn't realize that I was on mute. I apologize for that. But yes, we do have a question here from Bonnie on Facebook Live, and she was asking whether Bloomz works with Seesaw. And I wanted to use the opportunity to just remind everyone about a couple of or a few new features that we're launching this year that really takes our platform leaps and bounds ahead of where it was. We learned a lot from the process during the pandemic and how teachers were using Bloomz and the things that they needed. So we're launching a couple of features that we're calling activities and assignments that help our product really be a complete platform for remote learning. So this, what Jude is showing here is some of the activities that the community in Bloomz has already created. And so activities that you can create on your own and then assign to students. Those students can then open them up and annotate on them. They can draw on them. They can record, upload video, etc., and submit it back to the teacher for assessment. So really a really complete platform. This is really cool. This is the experience for the student where they can annotate and then provide the answers to the assignment and send them back to the teacher. Is there anything you want to talk about this, Jude, while you're there?
Yeah, that I got just zoned out into the creating the activity part. It's exciting.
Sorry, I didn't mean to put you on the spot.
No,
but
so yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead. I just wanted to kind of go back to the question from Bonnie and just answer that, which is, you know, we did all these improvements really in with the intention to, so teachers only need to use one platform to communicate with students and parents. So with all these improvements, you know, if you're in another platform, you can certainly, you know, take a look at these activities and reconsider that, because with all the improvements that we've made in the platform.
Yeah, I think you just got muted there for that last second. But
sorry about that.
Oh, he's back. Yeah.
Disconnected.
So what Bloomz has that is, you know, Seesaw doesn't have is this calendar aspect. There's a lot of things, right? The whole calendar aspect, the signups, those are going to be essential for coordination and communication with parents. There's a lot of differences between Bloomz and Seesaw. So Seesaw is the learning journal and activities, which now Bloomz has. So we have all of the Seesaw capabilities, plus the communication and coordination tools. So I guess that'd be up to you as a teacher if you want to use both. But like Horatio said, choosing Bloomz would give you all of the things you need. So with the activities in that community section, it would be the entire Bloomz community, and then your school or district would be just your school's lessons and activities, which would be aligned with your curriculum. So that would be really helpful in assigning activities that go along with your school's curriculum. So here's a bit of an overview of how I was creating the document section for parents so that they would have resources to the school's curriculum. So each subject, math, social studies, science, we have Black Lives Matter at School curriculum, literacy curriculum, and here's the weekly checklist template. So that parents can always refer to this as the year goes on and have all of the documents. As we get more websites, I will add the login codes here. It's just like a hub for them to reference. And then for the learning stations, like independent work, my idea is to keep them in the announcements as the school year gets started so that people can explore and play around with where to visit to extend and support learning. And the polling site could live in the announcements too, or you can post it on your news feed, like I did here. Well, I think that kind of wraps it up.
That's great. We have another question here from the audience in Facebook Live. Can you hear me, Jude? Just wanted to make sure before I continue talking. Okay.
I can hear you.
Yes, so Delaney, she is asking, oh, no, sorry. It was Andrea who's asking, does Bloomz work with Google Classroom and Google Slides? So with Google Classroom, we know that that's a platform, a very popular platform. And right now we're actually in conversations with Google on generating some integration with Bloomz. That's not yet live, but it's something that the team is actively working on. And
oh, you got muted.
You're
back.
And But then about Google Slides, another way that you can use with Google Slides is, or you actually have it there. Do you want to talk about that?
Sure, yeah. So I'm trying to use Google Slides as well this year. And so experimenting with ways to do that. So far I found two ways. One is just posting right on the news feed. And so you can share that with a link here. So this would be like for parents. And it would bring them right to the Google slide. Or students, right? Because I really want my students, but they're first graders. So parents are going to be accessing it first, and then they can show it. So it clicks right over. So that's one way to share it that way. And you can attach it as a PowerPoint as well. We can get comments on that from parents. We can get likes. So you know there's engagement, or maybe there's not. This is a demo classroom, so no one's here. The other place I put the Google slide was back in that document section. And so if I go here, it's my weekly checklist is a Google slide, and I uploaded it as a PowerPoint here. I could also put the link in here as well, so that it would just live in here as a hub.
Great.
And if you click on it, it automatically downloads to your computer. Yeah.
Great. There's an anonymous question here about the Bitmoji that you have in your at the top of your classroom and how you created that.
Oh yeah, so that was a Google slide. And the slide fits exactly as the banner in your classroom. Pretty close, right? I got the top cut off there. This is the image file of the Google slide where I made my Bitmoji. And the image file itself is not clickable, but when you make it in Google Slides and save it as a PDF, that is clickable. So you could attach your PDF of your Bitmoji classroom with all of these links to in the document section for parents to reference, or you can keep it in your announcements right here so that they would go in and it would be uploaded, and they can save it or it can live there. The PDF is the clickable Bitmoji version. I like it to put on the background here to give them a sense of what it would look like in my classroom. And I put the this Bloomz little logo here in my Bitmoji classroom. So it is clickable and will take them back to the website for Bloomz, our app, I mean.
Great. Let's see, any other questions here on Facebook? Doesn't look like. Any other questions from the audience? Feel free to ask. I don't see any more here or in Facebook Live. So I think that wraps it up for us. Jude, this was really, really useful. Thank you very much for walking us through these tips and tricks from an actual teacher and how you use Bloomz in your classroom. Thank you very much. Thank you to the audience, both on Facebook Live and on Zoom. We appreciate you giving us a little bit of your afternoon to see some of these tips. And if you have any questions about Bloomz, you can always email us support@bloomz.com. Again, a great place to go and check out the webinars that we've had in the past is our blog. You can go to blog.bloomz.com. where you will find all the webinars that we've done in the past. And we'll provide some updates soon on what the next few webinars will be coming up. But with that, Jude, anything else to add?
I think that wraps it up. Thanks so much again for having me. Hope everyone has a good start to the school year.
Great. Well, thank you very much. Thanks, everyone.